everyone, and welcome to the Digital Project Manager podcast. I'm Kelsey Alpaio, and today we're tackling a big topic. How do you land your first project manager role? Maybe you've been unofficially managing projects for a while and you're ready to make it official, or maybe you're pivoting from another career and wondering, how do I actually convince hiring managers that I have what it takes? We're breaking it all down, what skills you actually need, how to position yourself on your resume and in interviews, and what challenges you might face along the way. And thankfully, we've got an incredible guest with us here today to help us navigate it all. Ogaga Johnson, founder and CEO of Verisult, a training and consulting firm that helps people break into in-demand careers like project management. Ogaga, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. I'm excited to be here.
So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Yeah, so like you already mentioned, thank you for that introduction. I'm Ogaga Johnson, and passionately at the core of all that I do and my team, all that we do at Verisult is about people building and empowerment. One of the core things we do is we help career professionals, especially immigrants, to kickstart and thrive in their careers. Now, not just any career, but we're focusing on the in-demand careers because those are careers that are projected to have a massive, in terms of need, in terms of, people to work. So we are helping to tackle the labor shortage, basically, and ensure that we build and equip people to take up these in-demand roles that are upcoming. And some are right here, right now.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. What do you think is the hardest part about finding and landing that first project management role or title?
Just working with over thousands of people who want to move into the project management role across like the UK, Canada, and the US. One of the most common things I've seen is literally even having interviews. So because if you're not able to speak to a hiring manager or to really, communicate your value, you won't have the opportunity to even get to an offer stage. So that process of being able to translate their skills, their experiences to speak to the value they have and can offer for project management roles is the biggest hurdle that I see lots of people face, especially folks who want to transition that haven't gotten the official project management title ever. They want to move. That is always the struggle. How can I translate what I currently do or my experiences to this role that I know I can do, but may not necessarily have had the title for it?
So what are some of those skills that you should have and that you should highlight on your resume in order to get those interviews if you're applying for your first project manager role?
I would say the first thing is to understand each individual is different. We're all unique. We have unique experiences, unique backgrounds. Some of us may have the same education, but when you go to university, we don't take in the same thing in those classes, right? So we all have unique makeup. So first is to understand what is the value that I will bring to the project management space. There's no point, we have this slogan that we play around with at Verisult when we tell our people, like we say, oh, don't machine gun your resume, like throw it everywhere. Be strategic. What is my unique value proposition? We do it a lot, in business, in marketing, in business, say, what's your business unique value proposition? In the same thing with career, in career, you're selling your skills and services. So think of it like a business. So what is the unique value proposition that will set you apart from every other person, millions of people who are looking for the same project management role? So that's the first thing. So for example, someone may say, oh, I've been working in the events planning space for a while now, but technically that's kind of project management. Okay, maybe what you can do is transition into a project manager or project coordinator role within the event space, whether it's a not-for-profit, because not-for-profit is a lot of events, or it could even be in terms of a big organization, maybe in their marketing, because they do lots of marketing events. But look at what is my unique proposition? Where do I have so much valued experience, industry experience? And because of that, what industry can I easily transition into to get into project management? That may not be your dream role because someone may say, hey, I'm looking to leave the event space, please. But that is a way to start, because how you start doesn't mean that that's how you finish. But that's a way to start. And from there, you start building up to become a project management expert, and then you can move forward. So that's the first thing. Understand what your value proposition is, what industry you should target. because of your value proposition that you've identified. And the next thing is that every job is different. You can't be using the same resume for every single job. I know this is the thing no job seeker wants to hear. In fact, they always ask me for the shortcut. No job seeker wants to hear this, but that's the truth because I hire a lot of project managers, for different organizations and for my organization as well. And one thing I look at is, hey, whose resume proves that they can do the work I want them to do? And those are the people I invite for interviews. So even if you're great, I don't know you. So I can't tell you're great if your resume doesn't point that you're great, not just in terms of great generally, but great to meet that pain points that I have or that value that I need this resource to come and deliver within the organization. So you need to tailor your resume. You need to understand how to read job descriptions and highlight what is this thing this company really wants the person that they're going to hire to have, or what value do they want this person to give, and align your value to show that you are the person that can deliver that value in your resume. So those are the two main things that I would say. Align your resume for every job. First of all, understand the value you have. Because if I see a job ad and I realize that I don't really have that value, right? Not because I cannot have that value, but right now, that's not my value proposition. Maybe that's not a job I should apply to because that's a waste of my time and it's a lot of emotional stress when you get so much rejections, right? So understand your value proposition, apply to roles that align with it. Those two tips are my top.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit that there might be certain industries or, types of project management that are easier to break into. What are some of those industries that folks should look into if they are trying to land that first role?
That's a very good question because, some people may not necessarily be an expert in one industry. So there's no real level playing field there. I would say that right now we're seeing an increase, depending on the country you're in as well, right? But in Canada, we're seeing an increase in the not-for-profit associations, right? That is one thing that I've noticed recently. And these associations are looking for capacity in terms of they need capacity. Most of these organizations do projects, different types of projects, and they need people with project management skills. Even if the title may not be project coordinator or project manager, they need people with those skills. So that's a good industry to target. Obviously, not-for-profit wouldn't pay as high as, for some, not all, some not-for-profits won't pay as high as for-profit organizations, but the amount of experience you're likely to gain from there, a 1-year experience could be an equivalent to a 2 years experience somewhere else. So that's a good place as well. And also we have so much up and coming tech companies, tech startups with the whole innovation, the technology is ever changing. Those are organizations to start with as well, because startups need people to grow and to scale whatever product they have. So if you can showcase your value to a founder or to people who are executives within an organization, you're more likely to get a trial and then prove yourself in those organizations. So two main industries or sectors that I'll point to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so you did talk a little bit about understanding your value and making sure that's evident on your resume and in interviews. But are there core skills? Are there tools, methodologies that every person who is applying for a PM role needs to have to even be considered? What are some of those skills that if you don't have at this moment, you need to start building ASAP?
Absolutely. They're core skills. In fact, project management in terms of, so we know we have the Global Project Management Institute. We have some other bodies that would like to say regulate project management, if I should say that word, right? And they've even made those things easy when they talk about the principles or the processes that every PM might in their lifetime have to go through. Okay, so for example, I think at the core and the basic side, because we have AI that does some of the technical things, the day-to-day administrative tasks that project managers could do. But one thing AI wouldn't do is effectively understand how to communicate to people, because people, we change every single day. Our mood changes, our emotions change, right? So one thing is, how do I communicate? Communication, PMs communicate over 90% of the time. We're always communicating. So how to effectively communicate is key. And communication also ties to stakeholder management. In project management, you're working a lot with people. You're trying to influence people to get things done. So building your capacity or your skill sets to relate with people, great interpersonal skills to relate with people, to negotiate with people, even if you don't use the word negotiation, but when you're trying to get your team member, this is the task that you're meant to do, and this is when you're meant to do it, and trying to get them to do it. You're literally negotiating and you're influencing them. So understand how to build relationships. Those are some of the core things. So stakeholder engagement, communication skills are core skills, and then just the fundamentals of how to deliver a project, whether it's from the planning to how to execute, to how to ensure that it's going according to track. And if it's not, bringing it back to track. Those are some of the core skills, regardless of the methodology you're using, whether it's waterfall, it's agile, or it's hybrid, right? Understanding just the fundamentals of how to take an idea and bring it to life is the core. I think if you don't have that, that is project management in summary. So that's the core thing, you should have. And then obviously implementing with the people skills.
Mm-hmm. We talk about accidental project managers all the time, people who are already managing projects in their day-to-day work, but don't have that project manager title. I'm wondering how much of this transition into a formal project management role is about confidence, like having the confidence to call yourself a project manager and really owning your experience.
So first of all, I believe that everyone has project management skills. So that is my own idea. And that's because if you've been working a job, I don't want to give a number of years, but let me just say, okay, for at least 2 to 3 years, right? You probably have done something project management related, because every organization has to do projects because of change, because of innovation, because of improvements. So you most likely have been part of a project, especially if you worked in the COVID era. You have been part of a project because there were things that companies had to do to ensure people could work from home. That was a project, because once they had done it, the next thing was it was done. The only thing else they could do in that was maybe improve the process. And that's also project management. So I truly believe that everyone has project management skills if you have worked at least for above 2 years. I always advise lots of people that I speak to identify their project management experience. Are there a set of activities that you did to bring in a change or a specific result, right? That was finite in terms of had a start time, at an end time, was it's not necessarily operations. And when I say that, they realize, oh yeah, there's a time that, we had to improve a particular process because of audits. Audit came back that this was, we set one control or the other. And then I was part of the team. Even if I didn't lead the team, I was part of the team. I'm like, yeah, that is you being part of a project, right? Once people can identify the skills, I feel like transitioning to project management will be a lot less hard. And that is where the confidence will come in. Because when I speak to lots of people, the reason why they are not confident is because they feel imposter syndrome. Do I really know how to do this? Because I'm transitioning. Can I really call myself, a project coordinator or a project manager? But I'm like, if you've done it, you can. So I will tell you that the number one struggle I have with my students is mindset. So I do a lot of mindset reshaping that, hey, if you're not confident about the skill that you're doing an interview for, the hiring manager, how do you want me to be confident in you if you're not confident in yourself? And I can smell it from a mile away when I'm doing those interviews. So first of all, you have to understand that what you have, especially if you've done some upskilling, you've worked on yourself or you've identified believe that you have that value. So you've identified your project management experience, your skills, your value proposition. It is yours. So believe it. If worst case scenario, have a brag sheet where you have, this is what I've done in project, and use it, because facts beat imposter syndrome every time, because you can't lie to fact. This is the fact. I was able to deliver this process improvement project. It's a fact. So have those stories of what you have done. And when you have those stories, you can always go back to those stories in interviews. Then you're recounting experiences, and that makes you more confident because you have actually done it. But confidence is a huge part of success in transitioning. If you don't believe that you can, others most likely will believe that you can't.
Yeah, I love the idea of facts will always win out over imposter syndrome. So really having those facts down, really keeping track of the things that you've succeeded in and you've actually done, and letting that lead the way when you're looking for one of these roles. I love that piece of advice.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making when trying to land their first PM title?
I will say, maybe I'll mention two things. The first thing is quick apply. Sometimes I want to remove that feature from every job platform because I'm like, don't do that. Quick apply, whether I'm not going to mention any platform, but they all have it almost on all the platforms, right? Quick apply doesn't work most times, no matter how tailored your resume is to a particular industry. Because someone may say, oh, I'm only applying to project management roles in healthcare. So it's the same lingo. It's kind of the same thing every company is asking for. Yes. But someone else who has really gone through the job ad and realized that, yes, this is normal healthcare. But one key thing they're looking for here is someone who understands process improvement. That is one of the key things that will be an asset for this role. And then tailors their role to showcase their process improvement, will most likely get an interview over you that have done a generic standard one. Because I tell you, 90% of others have done the same thing. So what's that 10% that will make you stand out? So that is one thing. Quick apply, machine gunning, don't do that. Tailor your resume. It's painful, but there are different apps that help now, in terms of AI apps that help now. So leverage AI to do it, but ensure obviously that whatever you use AI to do, you fact check it and you edit it yourself as well. That's number one thing. The second thing is very similar to what I'd said before, not understanding the value. Because you apply to, when I see these things on, social media platforms, I'm like, so am I meant to be praise you or something? Like, oh, applied to 1,000 jobs, landed 5 interviews, got 1 job offer. I'm like, that is bad. That means you received 900 and something rejections. That is bad for mental health. That is bad for, even self-esteem. That is not a good way to job search. So the mistake I see lots of people doing is just applying to every and any kind of job. No, first of all, understand the value that you have in your career path. It may not be your dream role, but that's your ideal role right now to get in and give you a foot in the door. Then you can start improving yourself. What is it? And then focus your energy, because when you're doing job applications, lots of energy is expended. So you want to ensure that you are making the most of your energy. So focus your energy on the job set strategy that you have developed for yourself. So have a job set strategy. Not having a job set strategy and just applying doesn't make sense. Every business has a strategy. Every business. I wish lots of people can just change their mindset that their career is their business. It's a business because you're selling skills, and that's why they pay you for it. So treat it like a business, and you start seeing that your mindset start changing the way you do things, right? And that's where the idea of intrapreneurship comes into the career space. And it's so important. To get ahead, you have to think like an entrepreneur in career.
You talked a little bit about rejection in there. It sounds like that's a big element of this process. Like you're going to get a lot of rejections, even if you are taking your time applying to the right things, like rejection is inevitable. How do you recommend people deal with that rejection and bounce back after getting no after no after no?
I think you've already said it in a way. Realize rejections will come. So just get your mindset on that. And it's not negative thinking. Rejections will come because, to be honest, there are lots of people looking for a job. You're not the only one. So rejections will come. Just settle in your mind that I've done my best. So in terms of I've applied well for it, I've looked at it, tailored my resume, I've showcased my value. That's what you can control. But you can't control someone deciding that, hey, I like what this person wrote, I like it, like their profile, and I want to call you. So don't focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control, and the role will come eventually. And just realize that because you can't control that aspect, there will be some negative outcomes like rejection. So once you've set your mind on that, okay, I did my best, but this didn't come through. Perfect. That's not for me. And just move on. That's the one thing I always tell people, basically.
Yeah, I love that. I have just one last question for you to wrap things up here. If someone listening wants to start working toward their first PM role today, what's one thing they can do like right now or this week to move forward in that direction?
I will probably advise they do a career mapping or skill gap exercise, because you can do that right now. And the reason for that is just to identify, do I have existing project management experience within my life experience, even if it's volunteering? Because, it's not only paid work that can give you that experience. When I started off my career in project management, it was true volunteering in my local church then as a youth coordinator. that I use, because that is so much experience for project management, dealing with people, getting people to get stuff done, especially getting volunteers to get stuff done. That is the hardest thing you can ever get. Now, someone who is paid to get stuff done, you can literally say, guy, you're paid, girl, you're paid, like do it. But volunteers, that is harder. So I got to know I got a lot of influencing skills from that experience and negotiation skills as well. So first, just do a skill audit. What experience do I have that fits project management? If there's none, fine. Create that experience or find that experience. And then what skills do I have that are transferable from where I am now that I can transfer to project management because they're similar? So it's career mapping / skill audit is the first thing, because you need to have direction. If you don't have direction, you go anywhere. But if you have direction, you'll most likely get to your destination.
Ogaga, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been so helpful.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for the questions and being here. I'm grateful.
That's it for today's Retro. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you want to keep the conversation going with a crew of 1,000+ project management pros who get it, come join us at thedpm.com/membership. Thanks for listening.